Okay, he's back.
Are going to call the meeting to order. The orders, please take your seats. Invited guests, please take your seats as well. We are in the process of getting started. I will have the city town clerk take the roll.
Zay.
Present.
Douglas.
Present.
Hurd. Rodriguez.
Present.
Singh.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Saban.
Here.
Pupo. Decker.
Here.
Vesta.
Here.
Haywood. Antoon.
Here.
Santana.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Santiago.
Here.
Vespo. Punzo.
Here.
Cola.
Present.
Edwards.
Here.
Absalom Smith.
Here.
Winter.
Here.
Morrison.
Here.
Walker Myers.
Here.
Hamilton.
Present.
Marshawn.
Here.
Joaquin.
Present.
Furlow.
Here.
Abdul Sabar.
Here.
Wingate.
Present.
Smith.
Here. I would like to also note for the record that Order from Ward 3 has joined us. A quorum has been established. We will now have divine guidance from Order from Ward 14.
Everyone. So voting on the school on the budget tonight. And full third of our budget goes into the public school. I'm going to bring some words of inspiration, a little challenge, starting in high school. Your board office. Don't keep our high school meetings students and dream of the life for a while. Riding a bus every morning seems worth it to be able to go to the school in a hostile environment. However, the word and the school became the morning view is so serene, but it does not stay in the rising face forever. I go to cooperative arts and humanities high school. Students recently landed in the local newspaper and on social media for attempting to see an anti-racism protest. What originated from good intentions turned into an unorganized uproar. Mark can't justify religions. Although I was upset about the reaction from uninformed outsiders, the thing I was most upset about was that a non-black teacher uttered a racial slur in class at all. Many teachers have tried their best to accommodate their marginalized students, but some have ignored slurs to the class. I hope that in the future, the schools can work toward providing all teachers with anti-bias and anti-racism training so that no BIPOC or queer students have struggled with commonly unaccepted classmates with teachers administration. Mental health is also now in decline, especially during the 2020. The attempts that schools have been making certainly noted, but days of discipline are not what the students want. Recently, the citywide youth coalition planned a walkout for all of the students schools participated in, and thankfully it was mostly success. Still scarred by the aforementioned protests at my school, as well as our school barring the entry for those who chose to leave, many people in the occupied participation. This is to say that the message presented is incorrect. If the Board of Education plans to keep police officers in schools, then these officers should and already be trained to handle and respect all of their students. Budget increases should also go to educating teachers on how to be accommodating for trans and other queer students. School, for example, my school, for example, has an evident queer student population. It's on the gender in the classroom, the GSA club, and recognizes LGBTQ remembrances and events. But multiple trans students are still dead named and misgendered by students. A large reaction from the school community to issues of race appear to be going silent when it comes to homophobia as disheartening. Money comes to better. With more funding for education, there are more opportunities to get resources, such as more counselors, social workers, and nurses, plus really good training and accountability for all NHPS stakeholders. With fully funded schools, NHPS will be able to put their students first, to see people like me feel and be safer in their schools, because the well-being of students and staff has been put first, to be treated as respected, not as named. Not only would current students, but future students benefit from the conversation you're having today. The students have been speaking through various means. Here's your opportunity to listen. Sincerely, Shell Suave.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader.
Mike's on, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam President, and good evening. I move approval of the Journal of the May 16, 2022 regular meeting of the Board of Aldermen.
Second. The item has been moved in second. Are there any corrections to the journal? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The item passed, Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Under second readings, I move item number 1. Thank you. Special Committee on Ward Redistricting, favorable ordinance amendment approving a 30-ward Board of Aldermen redistricting plan and 2 district Board of Education redistricting plans for the city of New Haven.
Second. The item has been moved in second. Discussion. I call on order from Ward 4.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam President. I ask my colleagues to approve this item. New Haven's redistricting occurs when the state assembly districts are changed. The Board of Aldermen is required to act within 6 months of the date such change becomes effective. Redistricting should be done by ordinance. In the plan of redistricting, the wards of the city of New Haven may change the boundaries and the number of wards. If the Board of Aldermen fails to enact a plan of redistricting within 6 months of the effective date of such change, the mayor of the city of New Haven appoints a commission of 15 people to change the boundaries of the wards and to change the number of wards. Since the General Assembly district changed in November, the Board of Aldermen had until the end of May to approve the new plan. This is the deadline for that process. Key considerations, the goal. The goal of redistricting is to assure that every resident's vote has the same weight by equalizing the number of residents in each ward. Since the city has 134,023 residents, the ideal map would have 30 wards with 4,467 people in them. In the previous process, the city population was 129,779, and the ideal ward were 4,326. So if wards were to equalize the population increase, each ward could pick up 141 people. However, the way the process works is it's done by census tracts. We worked to assure that each ward is 5% over or under the ideal number, so that in this process, a ward with as low as 4,243 residents or as many as 4,690 persons would be an acceptable spread for the final wards. We also considered state representative district considerations. When adjusting the wards, the goal is to try to, 1, keep each ward in a single assembly district. 2, try to keep a part of the ward that is already in a single state representative district in that same district and same ward. 3, keep as many of an old ward together and move the rest into a few new wards as possible. And 4, keep current older in current ward. The new state representatives districts are the desired borders within with which each new ward should exist. Polling places. Each ward needs a polling place, and thus the registrar of voters always emphasizes that per state statute, ward boundaries should avoid crossing assembly, senatorial, or congressional district lines. And per the city charter, Ward boundaries should aim to be within the state representative's district. So, since the state drew new General Assembly lines, this can be a factor that will help shape the new wards. Through our work, we may have fewer polling places. Federal constitutional standards. The new plan is consistent with federal constitutional standards, which include but are not limited to these items. A, one person, one vote, achieved by having a deviation of no more than plus -5% from the ideal for lowest ward and highest ward. B, non-dilution of minority voting. C, the Voting Rights Act of 1965. D, census blocks shall be basic unit to be moved. E, wards should be contiguous and reasonably compact. F, preserve communities of interest. G, take into account geographic and political boundaries. H, maintain the core of current wards. I, residences of incumbents. J, equalizing voting age population in the wards. The process. In order to do this, we use census blocks as these are the smallest units of population data available. And each census block should be contained in a ward. So where a ward is over the ideal population, some census blocks shifted out of that ward, and where a ward was under the ideal, some census blocks were shifted into that ward. That is how the new map was created. This map meets all requirements due to the hard work of the board. I thank everyone who participated in this effort from March 2, 2022 to today, May 23, 2020. On May 10, 2022, the redistricting committee approved a city 30-ward redistricting map, meeting the goal that every resident vote has the same weight by equalizing the number of residents in each ward, meeting the state representative's district consideration and federal constitutional standards. I thank Mr. Jacob Ponchik, the Geological Information Systems Analyst, New Haven's Senior Project Planner, Ms. Donna Hall, PC Support Technician Jessica Soto, Chanel Evans, Voter Registrar, Albert Lucas, Director of Legislative Services, the Redistricting Committee, and the entire Board of Alders, and New Haven's residents, and the media, specifically New Haven Independent, Yale Daily, and the New Haven Register, for working together to define New Haven's ward redistricting plan. Many hours were spent in these chambers to discuss and to come to a consensus to our new redistricting city map, acknowledging the United States Census count of 2020, where New Haven residents has 134,023 residents counted. We now have a balanced city map within the range of 4,243 and 4,690 residents. As per our state statute for boundaries, avoiding crossing assembly, senatorial, and congregational district lines. New Haven's district complements new ward boundaries. New Haven Educational District complements new ward boundaries. Once again, I thank you, Madam President, for the privilege and honor to have chaired the redistricting committee. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further discussion? I call on order from Ward 18.
Thank you, Madam President. It's been my pleasure to serve as vice chair of this committee. I am proud of the work that we did and the efforts of every member of the board to work on this. No one got everything they wanted, but this is the nature of the process. I do want to make clear that these are our 2024 new wards. We will serve out our term. In the new wards, will be run in 2023 to represent the map we are doing today. Again, these maps do not take effect 2020. I thank you so much to everyone. See you all in the next 10 years. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further discussion? I'll call our order from Ward 14.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to thank everyone for their hard work on the redistricting process and especially Chair Rodriguez. I'm going to support this map, albeit with some hesitation. I realize that the majority are happy with it and it achieves the technical goal of equalizing the number of residents per ward. At the same time, I think it's important to note some other goals that could have been advanced through this process, which unfortunately did not occur, at least in my neighborhood. Namely, improving alignment between neighborhoods, state rep district, and all command boards in order to be easier to facilitate higher levels of participation in the democratic process. Fortunately, there are many other processes available to us to advance the goal of higher voter turnout. And I hope that this is not the end of the conversation around this topic, and we can seek and collaborate on other strategies for making it as easy as possible for residents of all wards to get to the polls on election day and participate in our process. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, this is an ordinance amendment. I have the city town clerk take the roll.
Ismay,
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Saban,
Yes.
Pupo, Decker,
Yes.
Costa,
Yes.
Haywood, Antunes,
Yes.
Santana,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Santiago,
Of course.
Crespo, Punzo,
Yes.
Nicola,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Absalom Smith,
Yes.
Winter,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Walker Myers,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Marshawn,
Yes.
Raheem,
Yes.
Furlow,
Yes.
Abdul Sabar,
Yes.
Wingate,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. Is there anyone who haven't voted wishing to vote? Is there anyone who have voted wishing to change their vote? Seeing none, the item passes, Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to finance favorable, I would like to say, a order for authorizing the execution of the agreement for the period July 1, 2021 to June 30, 2022. The order of the New Haven Board of Aldermen authorizing the city of New Haven mayor or controller to enter into a 3-year agreement with Havens Software Incorporated in the amount of $116,600 and no steps to upgrade the software platform for the storing and printing of data and documents for vital statistics. C, orders to read and file the updated budgetary and financial reports for the month of November 2021 in compliance with Article 8, Section 5 of the Charter. D, orders to read and file the updated budgetary and financial reports for the month of December 2021 in compliance with Article 8, Section 5 of the Charter. E, orders to read and file the updated budgetary and financial reports for the month of January 2022 in compliance with Article 8, Section 5 of the Charter. F, orders to read and file the updated budgetary and financial reports for the month of February 2022 in compliance with Article 8, Section 5 of the Charter. And G, orders to read and file the updated budgetary and financial reports for the month of March 2022 in compliance with Article 8, Section 5 of the Charter.
Second. The items have been moved in second. Discussion. I call on order from Ward 3.
Thank you, Madam President. Item A, Board of Education has requested approval of a contract with Honeywell Building Solutions. This company is a sole supplier of an automated system used in the school building. I apologize. And this contract is necessary to continue much needed support services. Committee members expressed concern about the late timing of this request. Board of Education staff promised to avoid this situation in the future. And also stated that the goal would be to find an open source supplier for this kind of system down the road. The Finance Committee voted to give this item a favorable recommendation. And I urge colleagues to vote in support of this item. Item B, this agreement with Havens Software will include funds to upgrade the IT system used by vital statistics for storing data and printing documents. The enhanced version should improve the functionality of a system that is used heavily every day. The Finance Committee voted to give this item favorable recommendation, and I urge colleagues to vote in support of this request. Item C through G are financial records. For the month of November 2021 through March 2022, I ask colleagues to support the motion that they be read and filed. Read and file. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions, the item passed. And before we go on, I will make some remarks. We are about to start budget deliberations, and I would like to remind people of a couple of things. Any amendment must balance out. So if you add $1 somewhere, it must be taken from somewhere else. The same would be true if you are proposing a cut. You need to know where you want that cut to be applied. Any amendment that increases or decreases a line requires 16 votes. Any attempt to decrease the mill rate requires 16 votes. Any amendment that raises the mill rate would require 20 votes. Also, you must keep your amendments germane to the items that we are discussing. So it would not be appropriate to move to amend a bond when we are doing an appropriating ordinance, for example. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Under item 2, finance favorable, I move item H, ordinance number 1, and ordinance making appropriations for operating city of New Haven departments for the fiscal year July 1, 2022 through June 30, 2023.
The item has been moved and second discussion. I call on order from Ward 25.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam President. Before I address the item before us, please allow me first to recognize those individuals who contributed to the budget process these past 3 months. The Finance Committee held 3 public hearings, and I thank the residents who took time from their busy schedules to share their thoughts and thoughts. In numerous workshops since March 1st, the Finance Committee listened to city staff explain their budget proposals. I thank them for answering our questions, and I especially recognize Michael Gorman, our acting comptroller, for his hard work and responsiveness to our inquiries. I thank my colleagues on the Finance Committee for their dutiful attendance and close attention during this process. They are Alder Ron Hurd, Vice Chair, Alder Bernie Santiago, Alder Salvatore DeVoe, Alder Jeanette Morrison, Alder Taisha Walker-Myers, Alder Anna Festa, Alder Richard Furlow, Alder Frank Douglas, Alder Steve Winter, Alder Yvette Hamilton. I thank those colleagues not on finance who attend our meetings as well. I also thank Don Hayden, our fiscal analyst, and Albert Lucas, Director of the Office of Legislative Services, for their dedicated support. Finally, I will say that the budget process felt different this year than last. The commitment by Yale to increase its voluntary payment by $52 million over 6 years, including $10 million more next fiscal year, certainly made a difference. I thank the community for creating a groundswell for change, and the city and university representatives for getting the deal done. The final shout out goes to Senator Martin Mooney and our great delegation in Hartford for successfully reforming the state pilot program a year ago. This much needed update yielded nearly $50 million more from the Haven, which helped us to avoid a dire budget scenario last year and will help build a stronger foundation for our finances for years to come. Nevertheless, increasing fixed costs and economic uncertainty mean that we must mix optimism with caution. Now, please allow me to proceed with the item before us. Appropriating ordinance number 1 contains the city's annual operating budget from debt service and medical benefits to copy machines and computer repairs. This ordinance directs how monies will be spent across city departments and provides funding necessary to support resident services. During deliberations, the Finance Committee passed 2 amendments, which are before this body now. The first is a set of adjustments that correct various errors in the mayor's original proposed budget. These technical changes include: 1, personnel changes. A, Department 111, Legislative Services, corrected title of Legislative Aid 2 to Legislative Assistant. B, Department 132, Chief Administrative Office / HR, added $6,000 for personnel analyst hired at a level above budget. C, Department 133, Corporation Counsel, added $11,087 for labor relations staff attorney for salary correction. D, Department 137, Finance, corrected title of Supervisory Auditor to Chief Payable Auditor. E, Department 152, Library, reduced salary of Librarian 2 by $14,722, hired at a level below budget. F, Department 200, Public Safety Communications, added $7,000 for Executive Director, hired at a level above budget. G, Department 201, Police Services, reduced $2,741 for Administrative Assistant, hired at a level below budget. H, Department 301, Health Department, title change, Public Health Nurse Director to Program Director Nursing, no salary change. Reduced $8,098 for Administrative Assistant, hired at a level below budget. I, Department 301, Health Department / Vital Statistics, title change of the processing clerk to Assistant Registrar, bilingual, no salary change. Reduced $7,734 for Assistant Registrar, hired at a level below budget. J, Department 504, Parks and Public Works, changed 5 positions of Mechanic A and 3 positions of Mechanic B to Mechanic A/B. Added $6,290 each for the change of Mechanic B to Mechanic A/B for a total of $18,870. K, Department 504, Parks and Public Works, added $10,128 to various refuse positions for salary correction. And L, Department 704, Transportation, Traffic and Parking, added $5,373 for director's salary correction. 2 non-personnel changes. A, Department 152, Public Library, add $40,000 to line 115-21170-50130 to provide overtime funding for Sunday library hours. B, Department 308, Community Service Administration, reduced by $72,118, line item 130811010-50110 for a correction to a budgeted salary amount. C, Department 137, Finance, add $50,000 to line item 113718080-56652 for an increase for leasing and storage costs. D, Department 131, Mayor's Office, add $80,000 to line item 1131010-50110 salary account. And Department 137, Finance, reduced $80,000 from line item 1137120-50110. This moves the Chief Technology Officer from the Finance Department to the Mayor's Office. E, Department 802, Pension, reduce $15,313 from line item 1802870-51810 administrative expense, and add $15,313 to line item 1802837-51810 contribution. F, Department 308, Community Service Administration, add $50,000 to line item 1305110 56699. And Department 310, Community Resilience, reduce line item 1311020-56694 by $50,000. This moves funding for early childhood from Community Resilience to the CSA office. G, Department 702, City Plan, add $19,000 to line item 170211010-56694 and reduce $19,000 from line item 170211010-50132. H, Department 308, Community Service Administration, reduce line item 1308160 by $700,000. And Department 309, Youth and Recreation, add $700,000 to line item 1309164. This moves Q House funding from the CSA office to the Youth and Recreation Fund. The second amendment by the Finance Committee includes changes intended to moderate position growth and to increase the expenditure reserve. These changes are: A, Department 900, Board of Education, reduce the budget by $500,000, which changes the overall budget from $195,763,784 to $195,263,784. B, Department 152, Public Library, reduced by $120,488 from $4,303,412 to $4,182,924. This was funding for moving 2 new positions from special funds to general funds. Library Technology Supervisor at $65,580 and Personal Computer Technician at $54,930. C, Department 202, Fire Service, reduced by $405,834 from $38,561,329 to $38,155,495. This reduction is from eliminating 3 new captain positions at $104,050 each and a new lieutenant position at $93,684. D, Department 301, Public Health, reduced by $91,000 from $4,506,463 to $4,415,463. This lowers funding for 2 new public health nurse positions to $1 each. E, Department 747, Livable City Initiative, reduced by $108,316 from $952,511 to $844,195. This eliminates funding for 2 new neighborhood specialists at $54,158 each. These reductions generate a total savings of $1,225,638. The amendment passed by the Finance Committee allocates $1,206,687 of these savings to Department 408 Expenditure Reserve. The remaining proceeds are used to balance out changes caused by amendments made by the Finance Committee to the tax levy and revenue ordinance number 2, which this body will discuss soon. Altogether, these changes produce a general fund budget of $633,192,672. I thank colleagues and everyone here this evening for their patience in listening to this very long description. I ask colleagues to vote to approve appropriating ordinance number 1 as amended to fund the general operations of the city of New Haven for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2022. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further discussion? I call on order from Ward 25.
Thank you, Madam President. After the Finance Committee deliberated and voted on an amended budget, the administration came forward with an additional correction to be made. The request is to change the title of a position in police services from Management Analyst 4 to Quartermaster. The current employee in this role, who will retire on the 30th, has been performing functions better described by the title of quartermaster than with the title of management analyst four, which describes a role of purely budgetary and fiscal functions. The projected needs of the department better align with the quartermaster, a role which comprises fiscal and administrative functions related to equipment and supplies. Ask colleagues to vote in support of this technical amendment. Thank you, Madam.
Very good. Give me a second.
Madam President,
Yes.
I spoke on the amendment, it didn't actually move.
I'm coming right now for that.
Madam Chair.
So do I hear a second? Okay, and you said all that you needed to say about that amendment. Is there any further discussion on the amendment only? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, any abstentions? All right, the amendment passed. Any further discussion? I call on order from Ward 10.
Thank you, Madam President. I have an amendment that I would like to present, and the amendment is to remove one deputy director position from the rec department in the amount of $97,476 per year and apply the savings to reduce healthcare expenditures.
Do I hear a second for that amendment? Did I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, the item has been moved and second discussion on the amendment only. I call on order from Ward 10.
Thank you, Madam President. The reason for this amendment is that the city departments presented their budgets and many departments requested positions. There were over 20 proposed positions. The Finance Committee agreed to eliminate many of those positions as the chair of the Finance Committee just spoke on. And let's remember that the changes in the Department of Public Works as well as the Youth Department was reorganized a couple of years ago and is still trying to probably figure out where important positions are or should be. There is no argument that our youth are suffering in various ways, and we are fortunate to have a department that truly cares and is out there supporting our youth. At this time, to add more deputy director positions may not be the answer to this department, but perhaps supervisors. And that needs to be considered before adding more positions, particularly deputy director positions. This is a department that currently employs 10 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees. The goal is to, what I would like to see is one position, as I mentioned in the amendment, added to the general funds, and the other positions, when we vote on ARPA funds in June, to fund that other deputy director position with those funds for a couple of years before we commit that position to the general fund budget. My colleagues will argue that we cannot compromise our youth, and they are correct. Our job here is to also be fiscally responsible and be sure that our resources are being used properly. Again, we have eliminated other positions. This isn't the only position that I'm suggesting to be reconsidered. We even cut from the Board of Ed funding from the proposed mayor's budget by $500,000. Now, this isn't to say that mental health in our youth is not a concern, because it is, and we need more social services above all else. Our yard department works hard, which is why I encourage my colleagues to support our deputy director position, and in June, vote on ARPA funding to be spent on the other position. Again, this isn't to compromise our youth, this isn't to compromise anyone, but it is to be, we have to remember that as the legislative branch, we are also responsible for our residents in this city, and to be financially responsible in all areas and all departments. I encourage my colleagues to support this amendment. Thank you, Madam President.
I will now call on order from Ward 22.
Thank you, Madam President. I stand here in oppose of this amendment. Our children are one of our most vulnerable populations. And to even think about taking anything away from them is just deplorable. We have a responsibility to our children. We have a responsibility to make sure that the staff that surround our children are permanent. Not, maybe we'll get some funding here, maybe we'll get some funding here. No, they need permanent staff. Our children are dying in these streets. We have a responsibility to make sure that our children have guidance, that they have somewhere to go, things to do. When we were all home during COVID, locked in our houses, who was on the street? Those people from the youth department. And why? Because they love our children. They don't compromise our children. So out of a over $600,000 budget to touch on these points in the youth department is deplorable. So I ask my colleagues, please do not support this amendment, because in supporting this amendment, you are supporting going against children, and that's not what we're about here in Cape. So I thank you.
Any further discussion on the amendment only? I call on order from Ward 19.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you. I am also opposed to this amendment. This is a department that is hands-on. They have been hands-on. Their work is much needed, it is much required. That is a department, as Alder Morris has stated, when we were home, meeting on Zoom, they were out in the streets. They continue to be out in the streets. And although it may have a title of deputy in front of the actual title and stuff, they're not pencil pushers. They're people pushers. They're out here when these kids are in the street acting up. They're out here feeding them, they're out here giving them clothing, they're out here getting grants and providing. And our city relies on them really heavily. So when the mayor's office or whoever wants a program up and running, implement it, that's who they're going to. And they need to be staffed appropriately. So we need to make sure we're supporting this department that supports us and our youth properly. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the amendment only? I call on order from Ward 13.
Thank you, Madam President. When I first started on the Board of Aldermen, I looked around and I saw that there was nothing for kids to do. For years and years, I've been advocating for youth programming. It's about time that we're doing it. And I am so thrilled to see that we're actually doing programming that's worthwhile. And these positions will benefit the youth of our city. We can talk all we want about programming, but if we don't have the people to back it, then they go nowhere. And for 20 years, I've been advocating for this to try and come to fruition, so I am very pleased. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the amendment only? I call on order from Ward 21.
Thank you, Madam President. I stand in opposition to the amendment. Like my colleague from the 13th Ward, I have a deep concern for our youth. This is the number one thing that I hear from the residents in my ward. We need more opportunities to keep our kids busy in good ways rather than getting in trouble out on the streets. And to my colleague from the 19th Ward's point, this department is out hitting the pavement and they are pushing people. They're not just pushing our youth though, they're also pushing the many contractors that this department employs, especially for summer work. So when we look at the budget for this department, they have $1.15 million in other contractual services. So I think having deputy director, somebody questioned, well, do we need that? I think this can help make sure that we're getting the most out of all that other contractual services. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further discussion on the amendment only? I call on order from Ward 27.
Thank you, Madam President. I also stand in opposition to
this amendment. We're gonna talk about how much things cost. How much does incarceration cost? How much do funerals cost? We had a child shot and one murdered. What did that cost the parents? If we don't invest in our children's future, we're gonna pay millions for them. Not just in money, but in heartbreak. I'm asking all this. Do not support. Do not support. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the amendments only? I call on order from Ward 20.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I stand in support of this amendment. First, I'd like to say to reiterate, $500,000 to be cut from the Board of Education. That is a dollar amount that may go away from our children. To me, it makes sense to begin with one deputy director position in order to ascertain the efficacy of its functionality. And then we would be able to consider adding another position that could be crafted to be even more successful. I'm a staunch advocate of services for our youth. I'm also a staunch advocate of being measured with our approach to providing services and cautionary of adding top-heavy positions. I do not look at this as any type of disinvestment in our youth or any type of attack or disinvestment in their safety. I only seek that we be measured in our approach in order to give ourselves the opportunity to perhaps even provide more beneficial services for our children in the future. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further discussion on the amendment only? I call on order from Ward 18.
Thank you, Madam President. I was a little hesitant on the part of the split up, but what I have seen in the youth department has exceeded what I thought they could do. I am proud director in that group, what they're doing for our children. And it's a work, a child yesterday, they hit by car. We on the East Shore are craving for a youth center on the east side. And this is an opportunity to get in directors, definitely, to expand this, to expand further into our city. The city is growing, the school population is starting to grow. Look around, there's baby carriages there. I am opposition. We need to support our children because this is our future. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the amendment only? I call on order from Ward 15.
Thank you, Madam President. I stand strongly opposed to this and repeating my colleagues' comments. We actually did not take from us now from education. We gave them 4.5 million. So let's get that straight. We did not take any. We gave them an additional $4.5 million. I strongly oppose this amendment. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the amendment only? I call on order from Ward 4.
Madam Chair, I stand in opposing this amendment also. The Youth Services Department is complementary in its work with our police department and with many other agencies throughout the entire city. The Hill, Alder Hurd and I, and Alder Rodriguez and Alder Singh, we know the Hill is hurting, and we need every effort that we can, as well as the entire citywide, on any kinds of supports, recreation, anything we can to encourage our youth to get involved and to want to live and to be productive. And so I stand in opposed of this. I think we can get even more money to move into this department, since it's going to be working with, it is working with many other departments. Even the director, I know that works in direct services, which is tremendously significant, and we need at the grass, on the ground. Thank you.
Any further discussion? I call on order from Ward 26.
Thank you, Madam President. I stand in opposition to this amendment. I actually just would like to refer back to the word that was used earlier, the word measure. Served on this board for close to 9 years, many of us present a little more, or much more than that. It's been a very long time since the Youth Services Department has seen any major changes. I know for a fact that there are individuals that have worked in this department over decades. Some have come and gone. It's a bit of a brain drain. The knowledge has been lost. But still, there are folks that stick around to do the work. I'd like to raise a story of a 18-year-old now who's homeless in my ward. And they're in need of a place to stay. And I know for a fact, I just pick up the call. Pick up the phone and call the Youth Services Department. And I know that they're going to jump right in. This is new, so gotta put it out there. But I know they're going to jump right in and try to solve this problem. In terms of being measured, I'd like to also know that many of these people in this department have gone above and beyond the time. I've seen them with my own eyes for well off the time and the hours being put in. I also know that this department has raised thousands, if not millions of dollars to go to causes all across the city. So with all the little that they've had for all of these years, they've made much of it. Talk about being measured. That's a measure of success that I want to highlight tonight. And there's no way in shape or form that I could ever support stopping the best work that we've seen the department do in a very long time and have the impact of the city. I'd also like to note that I served on the Mayoral Transitions team. And having served on that transition team, the new department as it is was one of the recommendations I made. This is close to my heart. I feel very strongly that we cannot have any unfunded mandates. We've been on this board, this has been a priority of this board, and we've been reelected time and time again based on this priority. We don't have a choice. The residents and constituents of this city are asking us to ensure that we equip our youth for the future and ensure that we have the best of the best serving. Madam President, again, I stand in opposition to this. There's no way that we can cut anything short in talking about being measured for these young people. They deserve the best. Thank you.
Any further discussion? I call on order from Ward 3.
Thank you, Madam President. I wasn't going to say anything, but I'm going to say something because I feel the need. And our legislative agenda. We went on Doris' docket. And one of the issues in our community was youth services. I live in a community where the youth, they're all around, and they're not doing much of anything. But when the youth department come into my community, I watch them work. And it's not, I'm not saying they're God, but I watch them do miracles with the young people in my community. And my heart goes out to these young people, but I was proud during COVID to see our youth department door knocking, making sure that the young people in my community had the things that they needed, not wanted, but needed to survive. Make sure there was food in the homes, coats, sweaters, clothes, shoes, backpacks, hygiene products. I watched them. I was with them. I stand in opposition, and I urge all of my colleagues to oppose this amendment. When we stop thinking about our youth, we stop thinking about our future. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further discussion on the amendment only? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment, say aye. A roll call on the amendment has been called. We'll have the city town clerk take the roll.
Who's name?
No.
Douglas,
No.
Hurt,
No.
Rodriguez,
No.
Singh,
No.
Rodriguez,
No.
Sadie,
No.
Lupo, Decker, Festa.
Yeah.
Haywood, Antunes,
No.
Santana,
No.
Miller.
No.
Santiago,
There.
Crespo, Hunzo,
No.
Cola,
No.
Edwards,
No.
Absolute Smith,
Yes.
Winter,
No.
Morrison,
No.
Walker Myers,
No.
Hamilton,
No.
Marshawn,
No.
Rakeem,
No.
Furlow,
No.
Bar,
No.
Wingate,
No.
Smith.
Anybody who hasn't voted wishing to vote? Anybody who voted wishing to change your vote? Seeing none, the amendment fails. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we will have the city town clerk take the roll.
Who's name?
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes. Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Saban,
Yes.
Kupo, Decker, Festa, Haywood, Antunes,
Yes.
Santana,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Santiago,
Yes.
Crespo, Hunzo,
Yes.
Nicola,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Absalom Smith,
No.
Winter,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Walker Myers,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Marshawn,
Yes.
Rakeem,
Yes.
Furlow,
Yes.
Bar,
Yes.
Wingate,
Yes.
Smith.
Is there anyone who haven't voted wishing to vote? Is there anyone who have voted wishing to change their vote? Seeing none, the item passed. Mr. Majority Leader.
Continuing under item 2, findings favorable, I move item I. Tax levy and revenue appropriate ordinance number 2 as ordinance making tax levy and revenue assumptions for the fiscal year July 1, 2022 to June 30, 2023.
The item has been moved in second. Discussion. I call on order from Ward 25.
Thank you, Madam President. This description is briefer. The tax levy and revenue appropriating ordinance is the principal means the city has to pay for the appropriating ordinance number 1. In deliberations, the Finance Committee approved a technical amendment that increases net revenue by $12,000. The committee then voted on an amendment to reduce the mayor's proposed phase-in of increased property values from 5 years to 2 years. This reduces next year's mill rate from 42.75 mils to 39.75 mils, and increases revenue from local property taxes by $4,969,049. This also coincides with a reduction in American Rescue Plan funding allocated to general funds by $5 million. The net effect of these two amendments is an increase in revenue for the general fund budget, which is balanced with the changes made to appropriating ordinance number 1 by the Finance Committee during deliberations and passed moments ago by this body. The Finance Committee recommends this tax levy and revenue appropriating ordinance as amended, and I ask colleagues to vote in support of the item. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further discussion? Seeing, are you raising your hand? Any further discussion? Okay, I call on order from Ward 20.
Thank you, Madam President. Although I believe that the proposed budget before us is a better solution for residents than the mayor's proposed budget, I cannot vote in favor of the budget as is. I am thankful for the hard work that was put into lowering the mill rate. Nonetheless, I do not believe that the current budget provides enough relief for the residents who are struggling the most financially. I wish another solution could have been found. Again, I appreciate the deliberate action taken to lower the mill rate, but I cannot support the mayor's proposed budget or the budget before us in its current form. I look forward to finding creative solutions to ease the burden that many residents will shoulder over the 2-year phase-in. I am invested in providing quality city services. I'm not in favor of the added burdens that the most financially constrained residents will face due to the circumstantial increase of property valuations in my ward and its relation to the 2-year phase-in of the lower mill rate. Many of my constituents have contacted me and have requested that I maintain this position. I am in agreement with them. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further discussion? All right, seeing none. I will-
7.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please raise your hands a little higher. These eyes don't work that good for me. I call on order from Ward 7.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to support of this item, but I want to say something because I've been on this board now. This is the 3rd budget that I will have voted on. And I think that what my colleague from Ward 20 just said, it resonated with me when he said that he wished there was a different option. And I think that, I mean, as I've voted on 3 budgets over the past 3 years, I've been struck every time with just how difficult it is for us to pass a budget in this city that reflects our values and what we want to see happen in our community. And that's just because we don't have the resources to provide what we want in our city. We have so much need, so many people who are hurting in our community, and we just don't have the money that we can raise through a reasonable amount of property taxes. And that's, the systems that have created that situation, with our nonprofit partners in the city not providing enough, with the state government not providing enough, with the segregation that creates what we have in our city. It just is an incredible challenge, and I agree with my colleague from Ward 20 that I wish that it could be different. I think our role on this board is to be, to be responsible and to do the best that we can. I wish that we could do better for our residents because our residents deserve more services. They deserve, more investments in public safety to protect our kids, and we can't really provide that just because of how unfair things are for our community. And just wanted to add that there are folks who have talked to me, some folks in my ward and across the city, asking how is it possible that taxes are going up, even with the $50 million increased revenue that we got this year, and the answer is just that things were so bad before that $50 million came in that $50 million is just plugging the huge hole that we have in our city in terms of how we're trying to provide for our residents, and it means that we're just continually struggling to do what we all know is right for our residents, and I think that's where the conversation we just had about the position in the youth department is just a reflection of kind of the challenges we face, because the new positions that are included in this budget are only 0.41% of the entire city budget. We're arguing over crumbs here on the board because that's the reality. We don't have the resources that we need to provide for our residents. So I'm supporting this budget, but I also wanted to say that I think going forward, given how difficult a situation we face, and the fact that we got this new deal with Yale, we got reform of the pilot system, and we're still in this challenging situation, we need to be continually thinking about how we can improve our long-term situation because it's just not sustainable. We know it's not fair to our residents and it's not sustainable.
And so I hope that, you know, we will look at using the American Rescue Plan dollars that we have available to make investments that will help our city grow in the long term, because when we're thinking about, you know, why the mill rate was able to go down this year, it's because our grant list grew, and I think it's clear that growth is potentially one of the only solutions we really have to preventing us from having continued cutting services and raising taxes. So I hope we will do that, and then we'll just continue to push as a community, as a board, to advocate for fair deals from the state and from Yale, so that we'll have the resources that we need to provide the services that our residents deserve. That's all. Thank you.
Any further discussion? I call on order from Ward 21.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise in support of the item. As my colleagues have noted, we have difficult choices before us on the board. And the prospect of raising additional revenues, even with a mill rate decrease due to the reevaluation, is a difficult one. But I do believe that the 2-year phase-in we are discussing tonight is a better pathway forward for the city than a 5-year phase-in. Some of the largest beneficiaries of the 5-year phase-in were our largest real estate property owners. When we look at the valuation numbers from the city assessor, those are the properties that saw the largest increase in valuation, 55% versus the 38% that real property on average had. And many of those are rentals. I think we have to ask ourselves, will those landlords, knowing they have a 5-year phase-in, wait on raising rent? Some of them might, but many of them won't. They're concerned about vacancies and turnover and tenants. I think a lot of those rent increases may have already happened or are likely to happen regardless of the length of the phase-in. At the same time, we have many smaller property owners who are going to have to grapple with a 2-year phase-in. And I think that this 2-year phase-in does provide some relief to those taxpayers. Finally, it does reduce our reliance on American Rescue Plan funding in balancing the general fund budget, reducing the ARPA allocation from $10 million to $5 million. We may need those funds later on for budget deficit, or as my colleague from the 7th Ward said, to make productive investments in the kind of community that we want to be. Thank you, Madam President.
I will now call on order from Ward 27.
Thank you, Madam President. I also rise to support this budget. I think what our colleague from the 7th Ward eloquently said, I have nothing to add on to that. It's just going on, and also what our colleague from the 21st Ward said. But I just want to speak, if I may, just for a moment, to process and procedure. Because we have before us a proposed budget. To vote no on this means that we are supporting the budget that the mayor proposed. It is impossible for us to stand and double talk and say no to everything. And so this budget before us is the best that we are able to do with the financial situation that the country is in. We feel this. Look at the gas prices. Look at the interest rates. Look at the rents, the mortgages that are going to be rising. And so there's not anyone in this room that doesn't feel that. And so when we talk about those that are struggling, I don't know anyone that's not struggling. So this budget affects me. It affects all of us. And we work hard. We are residents of this city that are also affected by the decisions that we make. If anyone has a better solution than what we did, I would love to sit down and talk to them. But the show no and say no to everything is not an answer. I ask
colleagues to support this budget. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further discussion?
420.
I call on order from Ward 20.
Thank you, Madam President, for acknowledging me for a second time. I want to be clear that my opposition of the budget as is not a vote for the mayor's proposed budget. I understand what's been said by my colleagues. I've tried to find solutions myself in order to alleviate some of the burden that's going to be placed on some of our poorest residents and have lost hours of sleep over it. I understand that this is a very, very challenging process. And I have proposed creative solutions, which I won't name now because I don't believe they're germane to exactly what's on the line item. However, I want to say I stand in support of everyone in the city of New Haven, but especially those who will suffer from the added burden of extra costs and taxes. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further discussion? I call on order from Ward 25.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the unscripted moment in my comments this evening.
There we go.
I want to express some optimism because I'm in touch with how hard this budget process is. I've been deeply involved in it most of my time on the board. And so I appreciate the comments that colleagues have made about how we face really tough choices and we must take them very seriously. But our city's awesome. And the underlying dynamics in our city gives us hope. There's big challenges, and we talked about them this evening. Very serious challenges. We need to make investments in our communities. We need to make sure that we're looking after our people. But the city is growing. And I think that if we do our work together, which I'm sure everybody here is committed to, I think we'll find answers to these challenges. And so this budget, although we've been more cautious than what the mayor proposed, there is underneath there, or one, a recognition we need to enhance services to residents, but two, a recognition that New Haven's a really amazing place with the bright future, and let's keep doing the work. And I encourage colleagues to vote and support this item.
Any further discussion? I call on order from Ward 7.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to note three things. One is that I agree that New Haven is awesome. The second is that I just want to note that one of the things that I wish that had been included in this budget was a change in the expected rate of return on our pension contributions, which I think is a huge long-term challenge for us as a city. And the third was I just wanted to thank everyone on the finance for their work throughout this process.
All right, now we're gonna save our thank yous and stuff to the end because we got some more work to do. Any further discussion? I call on order from Ward 10.
Thank you, Madam President. I too wasn't gonna rise, but you know, everyone is saying our residents are suffering, our youth are suffering, and yes, we are. And we don't want to take any services away either from anyone. But is there more that can be done? Absolutely. There's always more that can be done. We have to remember that almost 60% of the property here in New Haven is tax exempt, which means 40% is the responsibility and falls on the shoulders of the taxpayers, where 70% of them are renters. So our residents are suffering. We've all gotten emails, text messages, phone calls from our residents begging us to please do more to reduce the taxes. I find it unfair that, you know, we don't get more money. And maybe this is a message to the state saying we need more. Maybe it's a message to all the, well, I don't want to say all the nonprofits, but the universities to say we need help. We can't be providing all these services on the shoulders of our residents when their taxes are going to go up and they're going to have to decide what to do. Pay their bills or not. Is New Haven a great city? No doubt about it. I don't think anyone in this room would be sitting here right now serving our constituents if this city wasn't great. And we as a finance committee and as a board work extremely hard on a daily basis to try and do the best that we can for our residents. Is this the best budget? No. I think we could have done more. And I think we could have done more for the benefit of our residents. You know, and no, I don't support the mayor's budget, but I'm not sure I can support this one either, because I think we could have done more. Thank you, Madam President.
And I just want to note for the record, I am not taking further discussion. I just want to let you know that, because I don't want people to keep repeating themselves. But when you are speaking, remember everyone's speaking to me, so you really don't have to rebut what someone else says. We'll have the city town clerk take the roll.
Who's next?
Yes.
Douglas?
Yes.
Hurd?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Singh?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Saban?
Yes.
Pupo? Decker?
Yes.
Vesta? Haywood? Antunes?
Yes.
Santana?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Santiago?
Yes.
Crespo? Punzo?
Yes.
Nicola?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Absalom Smith?
No.
Winter?
Yes.
Morrison?
Yes.
Walker Myers?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Raheem?
Yes.
Furlow?
Yes.
Abdul Sabar?
Yes.
Wingate?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Is there anyone who has a vote wishing to vote? Is there anyone who has a vote wishing to change their vote? Seeing none, item pass, Ms. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Continuing under item number 2, finance favorable, item J, appropriate ordinance number 3, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds, fiscal year 2023.
Second.
The item has been moved to second discussion. I call on order from Ward 25.
Thank you, Madam President. Appropriating ordinance number 3 contains the city's 2-year capital budget. The city is currently in the 2nd year of the capital bond cycle, and there are no new requests for bonding. Only certain redesignations of projects funded by existing bonds. The Finance Committee recommends this appropriating ordinance number 3, and I ask colleagues to approve as well. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further discussion? I call on order from Ward 10.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to propose an amendment to ordinance number 3, which restructures the debt services that could impose long-term costs. So it is just changing one, or removing, I should say, a word, or to restructure debt service payments from the end of the sentence. There was current language. Would you like to read it? Right here.
Is this being moved?
Well, first we're gonna say her motion, her amendment, she's gonna have to get a second or it's not, I'm going.
I'm sorry, Madam President. So I'm just wondering if she's moving.
Are you?
I am proposing an amendment to appropriate ordinance number 3.
And does she have a second? Okay, she had a second. Discussion on amendment only. I call on order from Ward 10.
Thank you, Madam President. Ordinance number 3, section 6, refunding bonds. It's a change to one of the sentences. So there's current language, and then I have proposed language that members of the board should have received. And it just states, or to restructure debt service payments from the end of the sentence. The reason for this, ordinance number 3 proposes restructuring debt service that can impose long-term costs. As the ordinance exists, there is no transparent public process. This process was changed in 2014 to no longer have a public process. Instead, these requests are made by the mayor, controller, and 3 members of the alder leadership. And the proposed change is not to suggest that the smaller group can't make a well-informed decision, but simply to allow a public hearing. The situation rarely comes up, but when it does come up, as it did a few years ago, many constituents complained about the process. The debt service payment schedule as it exists only increases each year. And this year it's about $59 million. Next year it will go up to $64 million, as well as the year after. And then after that, it goes even as high as $76 million. This was referred to as swoop and toss a few years ago. Let's bring back a public process, and I ask my colleagues to support this amendment. Thank you.
Further discussion on the amendment only. I call on order from Ward 27.
Thank you, Madam President. I just here to oppose this. The reason why this process is in place is to expedite time, to be able to capture the good interest rate. And so it's just a common sense reason that this was put in place in 2014 and it's worked up until this previous structure of leadership.
Any further discussion? I call on order from Ward 9.
Thank you, Madam President. I can certainly appreciate the good intention behind the amendment. I urge colleagues to oppose it. I disagree that the process that's set up is not accountable. I hear that the body makes decisions made up of elected officials elected by the public, and board leadership is elected by us or elected by the public. I think there's a clear accountability mechanism already. So those, Madam President.
I will now call on order from Ward 21.
Thank you, Madam President. I stand in support of the amendment. I can understand the argument my colleagues are making about moving quickly. And I think in situations where we can show that there's going to be a long-term financial savings to the city, we should move quickly. We should delegate that decision to leadership of the board. But I think in a case where the financial analysis shows that in the long run, we're actually increasing costs, in that situation, I think the city is better off having a slower, more deliberate public process. I agree with my colleague from Ward 9 that we do have a public process with public accountability. And I think with something like deferring our debt obligations, we really need to move slowly with that kind of decision. We would be best off with a more deliberate, more inclusive process. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any further discussion? All right, seeing none. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Nay. Nays have it. Oh, any abstentions? Nope, nays have it, Mr. Majority Leader. Matter of fact, nope, I gotta slow down. It's not back to you yet, we're back. Oh, yes, it is, Mr. Majority Leader. I went too fast. We're back to discussion. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll have the city town clerk take the roll. Yeah. It don't time. Stand up, please, and use your microphone.
Thank you, Madam President. It appears that when our colleagues are discussing their amendments or their discussion items, that they are before you, not before. And so they should be presenting themselves to you, not turning around to the whole audience. I suggest that we remind ourselves that we are not speaking to the group, we are speaking to the president. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're gonna have the city town clerk take the roll.
Yes.
Douglas.
Yes.
Burke.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Singh.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Lupo. Decker.
Yes.
Vesta.
No.
Haywood. Antunes.
Yes.
Santana.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Santiago.
Yes.
Crespo. Punzo.
Yes.
Capola.
Yes.
Edwards.
Yes.
Absalom Smith.
Yes.
Winter.
Yes.
Morrison.
Yes.
Walker Myers,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yeah.
Sean,
Yes.
Joaquin,
Yes.
Furlong,
Yes.
Sabar,
Yes.
Wingate,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Is there anyone who haven't voted wishing to vote? Is there anyone who have voted wishing to change their vote? Seeing none, item passed, Ms. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Continuing the finance favorable, item 2, I move item K. Appropriate ordinance number 4, an ordinance authorizing issuance of general obligation tax anticipation notes and or general obligation grant anticipation notes for fiscal year 2023.
The item has been moved in second discussion. I call on order from Ward 25.
Thank you, Madam President. This appropriating ordinance enables the city to have enough funds available to pay its bills without having to rely on exactly when income revenue arrives. The Finance Committee has approved this appropriating ordinance number 4, and I ask my colleagues to approve it as well. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll have the city council take the roll.
Ismay,
Yes.
Douglas, Hurd,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Saban,
Yes.
Lupo, Decker,
Yes.
Festa,
Yes.
Haywood, Antunes,
Yes.
Santana,
Yeah.
Miller,
Yes.
Santiago,
Yes.
Crespo, Punzo,
Yes.
Cola,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Absalom Smith,
Yes.
Winter,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Walker Myers,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Joaquin,
Yes.
Furlow,
Yes.
Sabar,
Yes.
Wingate,
Yes.
Smith.
Is there anyone who has voted wishing to vote? Is there anyone who has voted wishing to change their vote? Seeing none, item passed, Ms. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. We're almost there. I move item 2, finance favorable. L, ordinance amendment, section 17-201 of the General Code of Ordinances, authorizing additions and changes in permits, licenses, and user fees for the fiscal year 2022 through 2023.
The item has been moved in second discussion. I call on order from Ward 25.
Thank you, Madam President. The administration requested technical changes to this ordinance. They are city plan. A, removed in error, administration of 90-day delay in demolition from $0 to $100. Application and general plans, time extension annually from $0 to $750. B, delete maps, inland wetland map from $30 to $0. C, title change, floodplain development variance, FPD, to flood plan development permit or variance, no cost change. The Finance Committee has approved this amendment amendment. I ask my colleagues to vote in support of this item. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I have the city town clerk take the roll.
Ismay,
Yes.
Douglas,
Yes.
Hurd,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Saban,
Yes.
Lupo, Decker,
Yes.
Festa,
Yes.
Haywood, Antunes,
Yes.
Santana,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Santiago,
Yes.
Crespo, Punzo,
Yes.
Cola,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Absalom Smith,
Yes.
Winter,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Walker Myers,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Marshawn,
Yes.
Joaquin,
Yes.
Furlow,
Yes.
Sabar,
Yes.
Wingate,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Is there anyone who have voted wishing to vote? Is there anyone who have voted wishing to change their vote? Seeing none, item passes, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Finishing under finance favorable, 2, I move items M through T. M, order approving East Rock
Fund Communications Tower Enterprise Fund Budget Fiscal Year 2022 through 2023. And order approving Alvin Royal Golf Course Enterprise Fund Budget Fiscal Year 2022-2023. Order Enterprise Fund Budget Fiscal Year 2022 through 2023. P, order approving Walter Skating Enterprise Fund Budget Fiscal Year 2021 through 2022. And I apologize for trying to read off this paper. And I was straight. And is that the right year? So it should be Rank Enterprise Fund Budget Fiscal Year 2022 through 2023. Q, order approving the fiscal year 2022 through 2023 budget and imposing a levy as municipal tax levy for the Chapel West Special Services District. R, order approving the fiscal year 2022 through 2023 budget and imposing a levy as municipal tax levy for Grand Avenue Special Services District. S, order approving the fiscal year 2022 through 2023 budget and imposing a levy as municipal tax levy for the Town Green Special Services District. And T, order approving the fiscal year 2022 through 2023 budget and imposing a levy as municipal tax levy for the Whaley Avenue Special Services District.
Second. The items have been moved in second. Discussion. I call on order from Ward 3.
Thank you, Madam President. Finance Committee heard presentations from the individuals involved in the management of the enterprise fund, Special Services District. And the committee approved the orders presented. Our colleagues approved these orders as well. Thank you, Madam President.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The item passed. And before a motion to adjourn is appropriate, I would like to thank all the auditors for participating in the budget process. We have some new auditors where this was their first budget. Thank you for participating, taking the time to learn the ins and outs as best as you can of the budget is really important, and participate in the redistricting. We have a hard job to do, and 99 out of 100 times is thankless, but I want you to know that I appreciate the work that everyone does and the passion that everybody brings to the board. And I would also like for everyone to please congratulate Alder Saban at his graduation today. Thank you for spending today with us. Are there any points of personal privilege? I call on order from Ward 30.
Last Monday in our ward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Are there any more points of personal privilege? I call on order from Ward 29.
Thank you, Madam President. As my colleague who left me has had a long week. She's also my vice chair of public safety. She is like really a really great partner. I just want to give her a shout out. On Wednesday, she will be turning 25. Oh, Wednesday is her birthday, so please let's say happy birthday to all of us.
Are there any more points of personal privilege? I call on order from Ward 20.
I ask everyone to rise for a moment of silence for Memorial Glover.
Are there any more points of personal privilege? I call on order from Ward 18.
Yesterday, he's in critical condition. Please pray for him. He needs a miracle right now. So thank you.
Are there any more points of personal privilege? I call on order from Ward 3.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to stand and thank the Finance Committee. Thank you, Madam President, for this budget season. Allow me to work alongside with the great chair, our Adam Mashar, and just thank you for the opportunity. Great experience. I look forward to continuing working.
I will now call on order from Ward 22.
Thank you, Madam President. I wish to extend a congratulations on the graduation of Alder Sarah Miller and my son Jordan Johnson with their masters in social work. So welcome to the year.
Try to keep that one quiet, huh? Sitting there smiling, okay. Are there any more points of personal privilege? No. Well, congratulations, all graduates, and a motion to adjourn is approved. Yes, discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, none. Motion passed. Everybody have a good night. Be safe. Can I please
We need, Madam President.